Hey everyone, welcome back to some more Let's Play Eye of the Beholder. In the last episode, we found the keys required to unlock the sealed off staircase, leading us down into a drow created floor. Several of them, apparently. These areas must have been in drow control at some point, judging by the giant spider doors and spider locks and driders and, well, drow themselves walking around down here. Our group is now getting way over their head, quite literally, as we are now in the 8th level of the dungeon, looking for keys to be able to make it through the 7th level of the dungeon, so we can get to the 9th level of the dungeon consistently, I feel. Our group is looking pretty good. We didn't, I think, gain any levels in the last episode, though we did hack to death quite a few drow and driders. And a hellhound, at least one of them too, if I recall correctly. In fact, we can hear the driders crawling around at the moment as well. Scavvy has not picked up any new magical gear to speak of, at least none that he is currently using. Although, now that I know that the chieftain's halberd is a +5 weapon, I think we'll be giving that to him, as that means it's going to be doing, I think, 6? What's his strength, actually? 10? It should be doing 10 through 19 damage a swing with him, which is more than his drow cleaver will do. So we will still hold on to his short sword and sword. The short sword, at least, as a memento for how he started this adventure, because that was his initial weapon. Anya will now use the drow cleaver since we are fighting drow. The mace is probably the better weapon to use since we're always fighting something with her that might not be a drow. And I don't think this works on driders, but we'll give it to her at the moment for thematic reasons. She's looking pretty good. No other magical items though to speak of. Roikvis, I think it now has a magic necklace on him, if I recall correctly. Let's take a peek together. Yep. I don't know what it does though. It doesn't say what it does. Our stats are not improving when we have this equipped in any way, to my knowledge. Maybe it's magic resistance or something that it grants. Nothing else I can think of with he's using that as magic, with the possible exception of this coat. I realistically should stare at this with you guys to see if it at all changes color after the magic expires, because it looks like this blue could be indicating it's magical. But I suspect it's just a non-magical robe. No other gear for him at this moment. Tagor also has nothing else magical at the moment, though I will give this halberd to Scavvy. I guess we can give you this. I guess I can show you a little trick, by the way, which I'm not going to do, but you can do it. You can swing with that weapon and then take it off to swing with your short sword. A bit too unrealistic for me, to be honest. Aside from these, a ruby ring and a sapphire ring, nothing else really to speak of. This looks exactly the same to me, so I don't think this is magical, so that can stay behind. Kokorhekis has nothing magical on himself either. No new gear to speak of. Oh, well, other than some drow boots, but those don't really do anything for him other than make him look really cool. And Alexander, still wielding all of these rocks, with a non-magical shield, if I recall correctly. Maybe we don't even need this on you, Alexander. We'll leave it. Well, I guess we can hold on to it. Alright, and those are our characters' equipment. Here are their stats as well, just in case you guys have forgotten. The only thing that you're likely to see change with these characters are their levels, their experience, and their armor class. I don't have the charts pulled up, so I don't know how close we are to leveling up again. I think it's 60,000 for the cleric to gain another level, to reach level 7, which finally gives us access to level 4 spells, which is when neutralized poison will be available to us. And I think it's 80,000 for our mages to level up again, so we might level up one more time with our mages before the end of the game. Okay, so as before, everyone, I will be watching the actual video with you guys, because this way I can think about the combat without having to worry about speaking at the same time. So give me a few seconds to save off this intro. I'll be right back. Hey everyone, I'm here watching this right along with you guys now. Our adventurers are doing rather well, all things considered, and that this may be one of the first times that I can recall playing Ivy Holder. I can't recall it very much, where I haven't actually lost a character yet in combat. I don't really want to jinx it. I'll knock on wood really quick to make sure we don't die in this video or what's coming up ahead. I can't imagine we're going to survive all the way down to the Beholder, let alone fight it without dying, but we'll see how well we can do. Something that occurred to me... Oh, alright, more Hellhounds. And I'm brave enough to apparently walk out of that doorway, because I have room to maneuver behind me and avoid taking these hits. I thought they did a good job on the look of these creatures. Every single one of them looks pretty fearsome. Man, Hellhounds. I forgot that we fight many of them down here. I have fond memories of this particular creature, not because necessarily of this game. Are I guess Hellhounds are considered evil? This is putting protection from... They do have the word hell in their name, which would hint that they're evil, but I'm not sure if they are. I think the name is given to them due to the fire that they breathe, more than their alignment, as it were. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. I have fond memories of... It's weird to say Hellhounds, but they remind me of another Dungeons & Dragons game that I think was based on 2nd edition, but it was a completely different type of game altogether, where your stats and equipment didn't matter overly much. I have it on Steam, and I've been tempted to play it, but it really wants to be a multiplayer game, and it's called like the Tower of Doom or something like that. It's a beat 'em up, and you got to choose between one of 4 characters in the first game and one of 6 in the second. And the second game also featured different color palettes for the characters that also changed up their skills or spells, if I remember correctly. Been an age since I've played that game. So here we have a puzzle, and we beat the puzzle right away because I think we approached the puzzle from the side, from the other side of it. Each button disables a pit, and each pressure plate on the other side reopens that pit again. I'm trying to see if I can shut all the pits, and if anything special happens when I do so. And it just occurs to me I should probably fall down these pits at some point. I'm probably eyeing that pit thinking, should I fall down these? But I'm not sure where I'll end up at this moment, so I don't think I do so. Some discussion probably happening with the adventuring group as well about what if we actually want to waste time doing this. To which Alexander points out we can just create food if necessary. We can spend a few minutes down here fiddling with this, especially since we don't have any hostiles walking up on us. You know, I'm grateful that we don't require it, and I'm assuming that it must be a cantrip that Ralkovus is using, or he has a very special perhaps item he takes out, or maybe it's like some sort of... Well, let's talk about what I'm talking about first before I describe maybe how he gets around the issue. But I felt that light should be something you have to concern yourself with here, given how far down we are. There's no torches on any of the walls. There's no magic light that's hovering in any of the corners here. And I'm surprised that in this game, we don't have to, like, carry a torch or a lantern in an offhand item slot to see. Light spells would have been used, and so maybe Roykvus has something special that he carries with him to allow everyone to see. The elves would have infravision, but they don't have ultravision, so they wouldn't see the walls. To my knowledge, that's the way that works. The dwarves would be the same way. I don't think they can see perfectly in the dark. In my game world, I think I gave goblins that ability, but not any of the player races. They don't have ultravision by default, if I recall correctly. That would be a spell that you would guarantee people would take as well, right? Like a continual light spell that would last for a significant... Continual light's supposed to last forever. That's why it's called continual light. Like, it constantly is there. You never have to cast it again. And normal light spells last for only a certain period of time. It would have to fight for the third spell slot, but they could... Was Continual Light the second level spell? It would actually... If it's a second level spell, it's like Edition does in the Dragons, it actually would be a decent one to give to the characters to let them see. I loved how Legend of Grimrock did the light, because you wanted either a light spell or a light source. Light sources would let you see further than the light spell, but you had to carry the item in your offhand slot. We have a choice of doors up ahead. We can hear more. I can hear more hellhounds, I think, or striders? Hellhounds. You can tell dogs in real life make that faint, teeny sound as they walk back and forth. There he is. Oh, look at me, actually moving backwards as I used to do. And apparently they have magic resistance. That magic missile did not work. Oh, Anya. Oh, God. She'll be fine. At least for this fight. I can't remember if the Hellhounds in this game actually have to make attack rolls, or if they're just breathing fire and you're making saving throws against it. I think they make attack rolls, and it's just the animation that makes it look like they're breathing fire. In the Tower of Doom, the Hellhounds in that game could... I remember correctly, they could run and bite you, which was like a grab, and they also had a breath attack, which you couldn't block. It would set you on fire. Thinking of Hellhounds now, I don't think I ever actually used them in my Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. I had these... I don't remember what I even called them, but they were very creepy creatures that a cult had created. They had a mangy dog body with a long serpent-like neck with a human head on the end of it. But the human head would make dog sounds, not human sounds, and its bite was could carry disease. I think they could vomit, if I remember correctly too. I don't remember what I called them. My players love fighting them because they like the description of them. I think one of my friends actually drew one of those dogs as well, so that everyone could see how scary they're supposed to look. The faces themselves were not pleasant to look at either. Very creepy creatures. I'm looking around for secret buttons. I don't see anything here. I'm surprised that like one of these two rooms was empty. The way this hallway works, according to the map Wookvis is looking at, is so that if you go down the right hallway, it will shift you to the left hallway via a teleport, which is invisible. I do wonder the train of thought that went into different mages to determine whether a teleport spell should be visible or not. Maybe it would depend upon the amount of power involved to cast the spell. Like the teleportation maze we went through earlier would have been far more difficult for us to traverse if we couldn't even see the teleporters originally. Oh, you know what? Something else is that the teleporters, if they're visible, also block the actual spot, as opposed to teleporters which are not visible, which silently shift you to a new spot, but don't prevent you from walking into it. Actually, it's yeah, that's true. Yep. I might as well create food while I'm looking at it. I'm hearing more hellhounds, and prayer might help us there. Put a shield. I don't think that will do much for Kokorhekis. But we have it. We've memorized. Might as well cast it. Gives him some more defense. I thought that the drow would be casting spells at us, like a fireball or magic missiles, but they don't. They don't do so. I'll talk really quick about the drows while I'm just looking around at my map and doubling back to where I've been. Methrodron and Adorkable pointed out that the drow, we wouldn't. I mentioned that I'm surprised there are no female drow leading the scout squads down here, and it was pointed out to me that the leadership position in drow patrols and squads would be held by girls if it was an important group. That the drow mentioned they're looking for, like they're going to run us to the slave pens, which means they're acquiring slaves. And that's a very lowly job for drow to do. It could probably be entrusted for men to do that, as it's such a low ranking position, and girls wouldn't be present with that group. I was talking about magic a little bit too, and they pointed out to me that, hey, the girls, given their importance in the society and that they and their god they worship, Loth, would actually be favored to be clerics as opposed to studying arcane energies, and thus they are almost exclusively that. It was the impression I got from you two. Thank you for that information. I had no clue that was the case. I obviously by what I was saying, and we have a new enemy here. Undead. Oh, sorry, not new enemy. We've seen these guys before. More undead warriors. I love the look of their helmets. The Egyptian or samurai look of them, and the way that they carry their hands on the hilts of their swords as they walk. I like the way they position their hands as well on their weapons. I think it would have been better had they reached back that sword with both hands to slash, indicating the strength that they're wielding it with. And I think it's here, with the first one we killed, that I'm going to discover an adamantite weapon, which would hint to me that these are potentially dark elves. Or am I? Oh, no, I'm incorrect. Okay, there is no adamantite weapon here. I'm pretty sure they do drop those swords. In fact, I think they dropped them earlier. You can raise elves as skeletons, to my knowledge, right? There's nothing that stops you from doing that sort of thing. It's just uncommon. Most people think of skeletons as human skeletons, but you could raise dwarven zombies. It's not like the elves vanish when you kill them. So maybe these were dark elf warriors punished? I guess they would be punished? I don't actually know what... I don't know the history... I don't know anything about the Loth spider god religion at all for 2nd edition, or any edition Dungeons & Dragons. I never read any of the... What was his name? Drizzt? Dowarden? I think I'm getting that right. I never read any of those books. I never played... I'm going to get the name of this wrong, but I'm going to try to say it. Mesoamerican? Books about the Drow kingdoms. I'm very unfamiliar with them entirely. My brief exposure to some of their lore would have... Oh, there is an adamantite sword there. Okay. My brief exposure to their lore came from a module that I used to possess. And if I want that module now, it's like $500 to buy it on Amazon, called The Night Below. And there were drow there, and there was this... in particular, I was really fascinated by this one race of sentient, malevolent fish called Aboleth, I think is what they were called. I really liked the idea of them, and I really wanted to run a campaign in that module, but I never got around to doing so. We might as well rest up. We're going to be exploring another floor, and we'll go ahead and get a few spells on our characters. As we do so. What would all the characters by now be thinking about the situation that they find themselves in? Tagore is the easiest to think about, because he's here to save his prince, and he's very glad to be venturing with... Oh! We have to... Okay, I see that hole in the wall, and I'm nervous about a fireball. We'll see if we can avoid it quick enough. An aid spell would be useful to give a few more hit points, one more hit point to Kokorhekis. This way he can maybe take the hit a little bit easier. Bless for the saving throw attempt, and in we go. Oh, 22 damage on Korkorhekis. Oh, and there went another fireball flying right past us. So we're supposed to step into the hallway. There are invisible pressure plates. I'm trying to trigger one of them. Apparently, I didn't even realize that didn't work. I'd rather not rest just because of thematic reasons. Nothing stops us in this game from just resting whenever we would like if there's no monsters around. But I don't want to do it because I think it breaks the immersion. Ooh, 2 fireballs I think just flew right past us. I just barely made it here in time. Korkorhekis' aid spell already expired. And for some reason, he has 45 of 28 hit points. Yep. Sometimes aid does this, and I don't know why, but he suddenly gains a ton of hit points. It's a bug. I don't know what causes it. It doesn't look like it's really an issue, and I can heal him to remove the extra hit points he has gained. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm going to leave Korkorhekis with a few more hit points. Maybe he cursed in his elven tongue, and somehow he managed to invoke a special type of spell. Oh, that was close. A fireball just slammed into the wall beside us. Good job, guys. Oh, another one. Deal with it. I don't want to move to the side because I'm worried that there's a pressure plate right in front of that hole, which will send a fireball down at me, and I don't want to move up into the other hallway for fear of getting pinned, of for some reason activating another creature. That's not the way it works, but that's what I was trying to avoid. The creatures do wander, as we just saw here. Right back all our javelins. Yeah, so Tagor is probably... This is matter of fact for him. We're here to save the prince. He's glad to be down here. For Anya, she's here to avenge her fallen companions. And she's glad to have found a capable group to assist her with that. Roikvis has been really fascinated with all the scrolls that we're finding down here. And probably super glad to have acquired these through means outside of a library, which would have cost him quite a pretty penny to research, let alone all the time. I guess one of the great things about being an adventurer is the experience you gain and the extra power you unlock through just adventuring. I'm imagining that in the way I've always viewed it is that, okay, this is a magic ring. I don't think I see it adjusting our stats at all, so I don't quite know what it does. We'll give it to Roikvis at the moment. I imagine that it's possible in the world above for you to gain levels without you actually having to gain experience points. That's the way I've always viewed it. I've ran my campaigns as goal-oriented campaigns, not experience point ones, which is to say that killing creatures, that doesn't do anything for you in my campaigns. Neither does finding gold. That doesn't. In the old 2nd edition, it gave you 1 experience point per gold piece you found. Like, can you imagine walking around out in the streets of a city and looking for all the pennies on the ground? Because eventually you would level up because of it. Always seemed a bit weird to me. I know, there's no other way to say it. It's very, very weird. So the way I've always run my campaigns is that they are goal-oriented. When the adventurers finish a dungeon or an adventure module or something of the sort, or at certain very specific times, I feel that they've done enough that they will gain experience points. And in this regard, that turnaround sign, by the way, is teleporting us to the other turnaround sign. In this regard, it could also explain why there are... It wouldn't be too difficult to imagine guards being level 2 or level 3 for a city, as opposed to just level 1, which might be the case for a village. And mages could probably gain experience points without ever fighting a thing if they studied and practiced. And for some of them, it would be enough. Haste cast! The map of this area shows a maze and I see hellhounds walking around, I'm not moving away from the door because it's my belief that they will get out and begin to run all over us. Everyone's hacking, slashing, casting spells as fast as possible, and it's working really well for us. We're out of weapons with Tagor to throw. We'll just sit there. That's arrow missed. I'm sorry, it hit, but it was resistant to it because the missile vanished. Yep, that was that as well. Good job, guys. We're cutting most of them down. I'm tempted to move Tagor to the front. And you know what? I know I didn't do it, but I should have done it. I should have swapped him to the front and then gave him the axe that Anya's using. Or a mace, the +3 mace, but that requires going into inventory. Remember, everyone, that the game lags. Right? See how right there it paused? It's lagging. And it lags at different times. It makes it very tricky to navigate into someone's inventory, equip an item, and then pass it on to them in real time while the game's lagging because of the end. Lagging is the wrong thing to say, but I don't know another way to describe it. Nothing's occurring while the creature is actually in its attack animation. That went really well. We shut the door to prevent any others from walking up while I go ahead and re-grab all of our equipment. Excellent work, team. Yeah, so Roykvis is probably thrilled to find all these magic scrolls. His spell book, thankfully, is able to hold all these. I suppose having, probably because of the type of mage cleric we're going with, a god of knowledge, he anticipated finding some down here in the sewer system. Maybe these adventurers realized that there was other adventurers sent down here. Actually, that would make sense. Scavian Korkorhekis probably lived a little on the more dangerous side of society, and we're thinking that, you know what, even if there's not a lot of treasure down here from just this area, other adventurers have gone down here and haven't returned, which means that their treasure could be acquired. And on that note, that paper we found from Scavi, the paper we got from the Lords of Waterdeep, give us permission and the authority and legal right to claim any of the fallen adventurers' treasures as our own. Right? Anything we find, we get to keep. That includes the fallen treasure from other adventurers. As I thought, that pressure plate shut the door behind us. I would have had to run into a corner, and I much prefer fighting in the doorway. I think I did see a hellhound briefly, so we know there's another one around here somewhere. There must be a secret button or something in this small maze of rooms we can use to get out of here. So Korkorhekis and Scavi, at least Korkorhekis is glad to have this opportunity to clear his name of any of the wrongdoings, real or imagined, which he has been accused of. That's probably going to carry some weight from the Lords of Waterdeep. In addition to himself sneaking in more spells, invisibility for a thief, now that I think about it, is something he would be thrilled to possess in the future if he's going to do some more underhanded things. I don't remember what alignment we gave him at this moment. I'll have to check when I record the game the next time. For Alexander, it gives him a chance to show his faith and test it. And it turns out down here he will be encountering adamantite weapons, which he can probably study somewhat to try to learn how they're made or try to understand the material a little bit more. Alas, he won't be able to do much with them when he leaves this dungeon because they will melt in the sunlight. He's also probably glad to see his spells so appreciated by the rest of the group, since he's the one casting Bless to strengthen their armor and arms, for example, or aid to add some sort of resistance to the first time a shield is struck for the front liners or the armor. And I see the switch right there. I can hear more walking, so I suspect there's another hellhound around. Oh, okay. There's none here, though. Unfortunately for all of us, I don't have a good reason to explain why, other than game mechanics, cleric spells are so useless to pick up. If your clerics are already the level that it would take to cast it. Only if I am anticipating a level in which spells cannot be cast would I consider actually taking them. And I don't think there's any such level in this game. I might be wrong. I'll find out in the future. It's been an age since I played this game. Oh, what the heck? So we just rested for a few hours, and there was a hellhound in these passages that didn't find us. This would, if I'm going to explain this from a realistic standpoint, this would indicate that these halls we're passing through are significantly larger than what it is in the game itself. Like, this must be a mile? At least a mile of twisted passages if we were able to rest for an entire 8 hours and a hellhound wasn't able to sniff us out in the passages it was guarding. This would totally be its territory. It would be able to tell that we're here, even without any, like, wind, I'm pretty sure. Oh, am I going to press on without full heal? I'm going to press on even without full healing the group. Alright, well, let's do it. Scabby's had a chance to improve his combat tactics and find a fantastic weapon to help him out in any other pit fights or arena battles that he participates in, assuming he's allowed to bring such with him. And since none of the group had much money to begin with, the gear we're finding is also very appreciated. Yeah, so I think that's a good summary of our characters at the moment. What am I doing? Oh, looks like I'm trying to come up with an excuse as to why we can drink these healing potions by trying not to rest every few feet. There's no reason not to. If I'm going to be honest, gameplay-wise, don't you do what I'm doing. You hold on to those potions. There's no reason to drink them when you can just rest and heal everyone with Cure Light Wound spells. But I like pretending that we're under some type of time limit on occasion. So we're not going to rest for like 200 hours down here to recover everyone's life, even though we could do that and just cast Create Food spells, for example. Uh-oh. There's a pressure plate and a ton of holes in the wall. And that pressure plate won't be activated by putting a stone on it. I think I'm going to explore the rest of this hallway before we go in there. Driders. We can hear the spider legs. Since they're going to throw javelins. I want some protection. Thank you as well, Methajon and Adorkable, for pointing out that the Driders are actually... They are what I thought. They're or what it would make sense for them to be. They're punished male drow. I'm going to assume that the process of creating Driders is not very pleasant, and probably not without some amount of pain. Female drow, who are punished because of probably betrayal, or they got caught backstabbing, which is betrayal, I guess. One of their elders or someone else higher up in the hierarchy would be just killed in some fashion. I think Methodron mentioned that their family would kill them. But I'm imagining, given that it's due to religious reasons, the family would find great pleasure in doing so. What's the alignment of Drow by default? It's evil, and then is it? I guess it's any other type of front alignment, like neutral, lawful, or chaotic. Oh, apparently I'm going to rest after all in the end to full heal everybody. Then there was no reason for me to drink the healing potion from a gameplay standpoint. We're going to get rid of Corker Hex's 45 hit points. The other thing I'm not sure about that bug is, well, I'm not 100% sure that he actually has 45 hit points. It might be displaying that, but we don't actually possess it. Yeah, what a fun little fight that was against all those hellhounds. So we are going to spend a day healing up. It is, if I stop to think about it, it is a bit realistic that if you're hurt, you would just hang around and not do much, right? I mean, if you have open wounds, you're not going to want them to reopen. You're going to want them to heal. And if you're in pain, you don't want to move around very much. When I had my intestines, some of my intestines removed, I had a bowel resection due to Crohn's disease. I had spent several days in the hospital, and the very first day in the hospital, I didn't do anything but sleep the entire day, and my body shut down its intestines. Like, I didn't have to do any restroom number 2s for like 3 days, as my body was busy repairing it after the surgery. Okay. None of these are hurting us at the moment. I am instinctively suspicious that if we take every single scroll off of that spot, that there's an invisible pressure plate on the ground. So I'm going to replace some scrolls with other scrolls. I don't need prayer. We don't need neutralized poison. We have 2 cure poison potions left, but just in case, we'll take it. And I'll leave 2 scrolls there. Or maybe I'll leave one here after all. Could leave one of your adamantite weapons, Tim. I feel like I should leave all 3 there. Now, I have no clue, and I did not look it up, if that spared us from being killed in that room. Because I'm imagining magic missiles or fireballs fill that room if you take all the scrolls. We hear more hellhounds, and I don't see any switches on those doors. So they open when we do something. And we can hear lots of hellhounds, so it's another type of guard room. Okay, so my guess is we hit this button, and they come out. Let's get haste ready. Or not. AIDS first. I'm an adult. I find that humorous. Here we go. I wanted haste, and I forgot to get it ready. Well, I could try to move around to avoid taking this damage. I feel like that would let too many of them out, and we would be pinned. So we're gonna stand here and stand and deliver, as it were. Oops. Oh, okay, good. Thank you for moving into the hallway. Oh, the Milsessor. Nice hit. Smacked it right in the face. Keep some heal spells going. Need to smack these guys. That was a misclick. We're out of weapons on Tagwar. I hear another one. So it gets at least a Dagger, it walked away. I can't tell how far away it is from us. Well done, though, guys. Well done. Did I mention how much I like the quality of life improvements Legend of Grimlock did? Being able to automatically pick up the gear that you threw is so helpful. A ring? And an amulet. We will see if these are magical. Amulet is not. You can wear that Kokorhekis. Ring is not. Alright, well, we'll just... It's a ruby ring. Gold ruby ring. It's going to be worth a pretty penny when we get out of this dungeon. It'll help pay for a few weeks of rest and relaxation. You know, during my campaigns, I never really had my players ever spend their money on recreation, like just relaxing. And I've been tempted to try to figure out a way to have them spend money on such. I feel that unless I give them an increased, like, non-weapon proficiency score, or give them a small stat bonus to something, that they wouldn't really be interested in just relaxing as adventurers. But I like the idea of the adventurers being, like, they're more than just their adventurous status. They're normal people who just do heroic things, adventurous things. And they would want to just, like, relax, like, watch a show, go to a bar and hang out for a few days with their friends and talk with other people there about the random occurrences going on in the world around them. I've never really considered, though, how to get my players to enjoy that sort of thing. Everyone wants to hold on to all the cash to buy, like, a magic weapon, which is great from a player's perspective because you're improving the power of your character. Okay, we're on the floor now that has the sounds. Let's see what's making these sounds. No matter what, we're gonna have to open these doors sooner or later. So I'm looking at my map. I'm going to choose one of these doors, and we're opening it. Donate armor. I don't have any extra armor lying around, and then it occurs to me that there is that beautiful plate mail. Donate sword. Okay, so we're going to go, and I think I'm going to go back up and find that exquisite or beautiful golden plate mail, which I think is actually not very good. It's designed for ornamental purposes as opposed to actual functionality, given that it gives worse armor class than plate mail normally gives. So we'll leave that at one of these switches. Hello, Hellhound. Since you're the only one I see, I can actually move away from you. Though I hear another somewhere patrolling these halls now. By the way, thank you as well, everyone, for the feedback on how I'm doing with recording the voice after the game. I can't stress enough how appreciative I am to get feedback on things. Not many YouTubers get feedback when a content creator asks for it, and I am really super glad that you guys have provided some, so that you are aware. Like, when I'm done recording a session, I have a feeling for how well I did in it when it comes to the amount of dead air I've got, and if I'm talking about what's going on screen versus just filling the time with my random things to talk about in my notes. And I want to have a happy strike a balance between these things, and I was failing to do that early on in this series, right? The first one was I was focusing solely on the game throughout most of this and couldn't talk about anything else because of how much focus the game requires. The second time, I focused almost entirely on everything else and not this. When like Crusader Cassandra mentioned it, and I knew that was the case as well after I was done recording. In fact, I even mentioned it back to him that I was unhappy with it, and I really was thinking about re-recording it, and I totally did so, and it came out much better. The last episode, for example. Alright, here we go. Donate food, donate missile. Alright, Displacer Beasts. Displacer Beasts, thankfully, do not have any magic resistance. And you saw me run up there, the group. When Scavvy, looking ahead, saw another one. I'm imagining he shouted every charge forward, or everyone forward positioning or something of the sort, to get everyone to realize that they need to move up, because we cannot handle a second Displacer Beast behind us. They're not that dangerous, but they attack quickly, and I think they can do each one of their... So a Displacer Beast, in case you don't know, is a panther-like creature, bluish in color, though. But I don't think they're black, but they can be. That have tentacles on their forward, by their forelegs, their shoulders, effectively, or they're slightly behind them. I don't think they have. I mean, I guess their armor class is affected by it, but they're not going to have, to my knowledge, the displacer effect, which guarantees that you miss, I think, the first attack that is made against them. This was another creature that existed in that beat-em-up game as one of the bosses you would fight in the game. The second boss, if I recall correctly, if you went in one direction. One thing I really liked about that game as well is that you were given choices as to like which direction to send your adventuring group in, and it really mattered. The amount of treasure you would have, what treasure you would get, and the monsters you would fight and bosses you would fight against was very different depending upon which direction you took. I like that. I like that a lot. That's probably what influenced me in my college years to begin doing the same thing when it came to the dungeons I would create. We can hear more Displacer Beasts. We don't see any walking around here, though. You need a special key. Looks like a gem would fit in there. We have a gem. I'd rather not use it here, but we'll give it a try. It doesn't fit. I think I might be coming back to interrupt the game, in-game, in a few more seconds. Watch your head. Okay, there are 4 pits above us. This must be where you fall down into from the pit button pressure plate. Oh god! Room above. They're out! We hear another, so there must be at least one more. I think it sounds like there's 2 of them to me. I mean, I'm not a cat person in real life, so I don't really... I don't know for sure if cats make this sound, but I'm imagining they do. There were 2 special rocks of that sort that we found after we ran through that hallway, and so I am assuming they fit into those doors. Alexander, given that he works with metal and different types of probably substances, materials, probably was able to see that, hey, the edges of this rock look like they would depress into these symbols. Yep, and the normal rocks do not. We can step back a space as we swing at these. I should actually be casting Fireball much more often. It does more damage than our magic missiles do. I wonder how much time is spent in this game picking up the items after I've used them, as opposed to just playing the game itself. I feel like it's, of all the time we're spending, an hour of it total, when we get to the end of the game, has been spent picking up arrows and rocks. Another drow key. We haven't found any other locks that these are used in. I am very suspicious, and I think there is a way to convert the keys into gems. So we will have to do that at some point. A part of me wants to shut the doors to prevent Displacer Beasts from wandering all over the place and potentially surprising us from behind. But I also like keeping them open so I remember where I've been. I don't know what I'm doing at this moment. Okay. Choosing another door to go down. We have plenty of space. I know it looks like I'm panicking when I'm moving back, but I am just trying to get some distance, that's all. Wonder what it looks like to see our adventuring group slowly back up, hurling javelins, daggers, slings, and arrows at our foes, while the front line just readies themselves in case they reach them. We're going to be resting soon, I think, so we might as well start casting the rest of our spells. We have another enemy coming. Literally melted. Excellent work, Rolquus. Excellent work, everyone. The group is working out very well. Even if you can't see it, there's a chance that these items hit this Displacer Beast, even if it's off the screen. This one is actually being very tricky here. It's trying to run away. Nice. Excellent hit, Scabby. 18 damage. We get back our missile weapons and double back. When it comes to missile weapons in my campaign, whenever you hit an enemy with one, there was a chance it would be recoverable, but it was a low chance. I like the idea of the characters expending these more permanently. That wasn't the case for daggers, but with daggers, actually no, it wasn't. With daggers, if the way I worked it is that if you missed, there was a chance the dagger would be lost forever, depending upon where you were fighting. Like you might miss, it might shatter off a wall behind the creature, or if you're fighting outside, it might be lost in the grass somewhere, and you're not going to find it, and your eyes aren't really tracking where it's going very well. Magic items had a lesser chance of that occurring, to encourage the players to still utilize them. Something about my current players is that I'm impressed with how readily they decide to use the expendable items they possess. Potions and oils that they have, they'll drink them and use them without hesitation, which is phenomenal, considering that most of the time, I imagine people play Dungeons & Dragons like I play this game, and you hoard all your consumables and expendable items for an emergency, and then when that emergency happens, you still don't think it's the emergency you need to use them in, and you won't use them at all. It's one of the good reasons about playing a game like Dungeon Hack, and not reloading when bad things happen, because it gives you an excuse to like use the potions that you've discovered and so on. All right, we've got a keyhole here. My map is telling me I don't need to use a key here, but I'm going to use one anyway. This will loop back around to the room we were in with the 4 doors. But I felt like, I'm going to open this door for convenience. But realistically, I shouldn't do that. And we hear something new. That's heavy footsteps. And it moves slower. And it's one of the most iconic creatures in Dungeons & Dragons. That is a rust monster. Quite big. I thought they were much smaller than that. Rust monsters was one of the first bosses I ever encountered in a role-playing game in the Red Box edition of Dungeons & Dragons. In the single-player campaign, which is teaching you how to play the game, it's guarding one of the final rooms in the game, and you're playing a fighter in that game, and it turns your armor, like your shield, into rust, and then your armor into rust, which makes the rest of the game more difficult depending upon where you decide to go to first. My brothers have fond memories of rust monsters, and remember me using a rust monster against them in the first dungeon many years ago. When they were talking about the new campaign, they talked about the rust monster so much that I felt like it was a fan favorite, and I had to include it in the first adventure they went in a well down below the city of Lotaeri. And when it showed up, my brother Joe, who was playing a warrior with some decent armor, immediately was like, "Oh no!" When I described it, he knew exactly what it was. I think it missed him when it jumped at him. My rust monsters also, because my house has very tiny rust monsters in it. They look almost exactly the same, but they don't cause rust. My house occasionally gets camel crickets in them, is what they're called. Camel, like the humpback creature. Cricket. If you look it up on right, I'm going to walk into several of these because I don't want to swing my weapons at a rust monster for fear that it will rust the weapons. Anyway, if you go look up camel crickets, they look very similar to this creature. They don't have that giant tail, but the rest of them look pretty much dead on. And so I gave my rust monsters leaping, which will let them jump into someone. They also, in my world, they can bite as well. It doesn't do significant damage, but they're able to defend themselves. Rust monsters normally, if I recall correctly, don't do anything of the sort. They only just turn armor into rust, which is great for weakening the player's equipment, but not so great, I thought, realistically, as to what if there's no metal around? Like, I want my rust monsters to survive on something else besides just rust. And they would eat rust anyway through their mouths, not through magically ingesting it. But I might be wrong about rust monsters. I haven't looked at my normal Dungeons & Dragons monster manual in quite some time. What are some other changes that I've done? As long as we're talking about stuff of this sort. My ghouls are not standard edition ghouls. They're more like World of Warcraft ghouls. They don't paralyze anyone, but they can shred armor. Like, they can tear it up. It still can be repaired, but their claws are incredibly powerful and sharp, as opposed to paralyzing my players. I never liked how powerful some of the incapacitation effects are, for creatures in particular. One bad roll, and even a weak creature can kill players. I'm going to relate this back briefly to Pool of Radiance, only because ghouls are something, and mummies were something you encountered in the graveyard, ghouls outside of it. And if you're paralyzed, your character is killed the next time anything gets to attack them, which makes sense, actually. Like, that, okay, that's great. That's the way the game plays. It makes sense that would be the case. You can't defend yourself. The same thing with, like, sleep. Someone who's slept, you can just walk up and slit their throat. It's not very heroic, but it lets you win battles against hordes of orcs in the early game. But when it comes to your player characters, man, having your frontline fighter paralyzed and killed the same round is really punishing. That said, though, if you view the Pool of Radiance game less like a role-playing game with a fairer dungeon master and more like a roguelike difficult game, that's fine. Yep, absolutely fine. I can see why people would like that. It means you have to consider your tactics a lot more carefully. Getting more aid spells. I think I left a dagger behind. Poison potion. I can't imagine why we want to take that. Thankfully, that one was identified, although it is the same color as the one we left up above. when we first, I think the first potion we found was a poison potion, if I remember correctly. Green in color. It didn't tell us what it was, and I didn't trust it. I think this game works the same way as Dungeon Hack, in that all the potions are a very particular color, which I love, by the way. There's a game module that I have called The Blade of Vengeance. I have it right here in front of me, and it's a adventure for one dungeon master and one player character. And the potions in this game are all color and I think scent coordinated. So like an invisibility potion is silver and smells or tastes like I think it's taste and tastes like a certain thing, which allows you to identify it if you're because the main character here doesn't generally have a way to identify items. And potions, once you realize what they do, once you find another potion, it will always work that way. And I'm assuming that they were going with if you sip the potion, its effects don't affect you. I guess unless it's poison. So it's a risk you have to take initially, but probably worth it. Especially because I think there's herbs in the game which cure poisons. And everyone, we're just about done. So I think we're going to explore like one more room, and then that's it for this episode. Or I might be stopping here actually. I can see I've got less than just over 3 minutes left, everyone. So I'm probably casting spells, and then we're stopping. And I think I do come back to talk briefly. All right, yep, that's me indicating that I'm done. We're stopping here. All right, everyone. Feels like we've been playing for just about an hour or so, maybe a little under. But I think this is a good spot to stop. We've cleared out quite a few of the enemies on this floor. Wow. My God, we explored a bit. Quite a bit more than I thought we would. We risked fireballs, and I don't think we got hit by any of them. That one room with all those holes in the walls, I think maybe if you take all of those scrolls, it continues to flood the room with magic missiles until you die, or something of the sort. I'm always suspicious about taking things and not leaving anything behind in this game. I feel like I should leave a gift if I take a gift. If there's like a niche in the wall, or if there's a room with obvious like traps around. I have no clue how I survived. How I just made the connection with these rocks that because there were two of them, that they must be used on those doors special symbols. There's nothing special about this rock otherwise, other than it's a cool looking magma rock compared to these normal stone rocks we got a long time ago in the sewer system. But there's no other difference to them to my knowledge. They do the same damage that these ones do. And some pretty epic battles. So I decided to stand and tank those hellhounds those two different times, because trying to maneuver around them to dodge them would just let more of them loose. And they have enough hit points that I can't kill them with one salvo of attacks from all of our groups and be worried about being surrounded and then my fragile rear units being taken down piecemeal. Better for Anya and Scabby to stay up front and just deal with the enemies there. I think that went really well. We got a bunch of treasure this time too, though not a lot of it was magical, right? We gained another ruby ring without any special properties to it, another necklace without any properties to it. We'll see if I can put these into that a gem for a key slot and see if that actually works. And I guess we don't need this flail, so I'm just gonna leave you by the staircase. And that will do, everyone. Thank you guys for watching. So in the next video, we'll continue to explore more of these drow chambers. We have a bit left on this floor, and we're still looking for more jeweled keys or more gems to create jeweled keys. I don't think the rocks qualify for that, so we'll just have to find more gems. Or I think there's another device that changes our keys into gems, so we can get rid of our old keys for them. And on that note, one last thing, I shouldn't have unlocked that one door, the last one we had unlocked, because there was another way around that hallway. That was just a convenience thing, and we could probably have used that key for a gem instead, if there is a key to gem device, and I think there is. Anyway, I'll stop here. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.